In this embarrassment of a society, all of us have participated in everyone's favorite slop fest. TikTok and/or Instagram Reel and/or YouTube Short. Unfortunately, I am no better. In my many days exploring the seas of cooking recipes I'll never use and mildly funny videos of people falling over, I had uncovered something incredible.
Eating properly?
Yep.
Honestly?
I really am eating. This morning I had some soup.
What kind of soup? What's in it?
Bread?
Bread? That's what's in the soup?
I dice bread, fry it in oil, then boil it in water. It's a proper meal. It's called bread and water soup.
Holy fuck! I had 2 questions too many. Why is she eating like it's the Great Depression? And is she stupid? I needed to see if this potentially Dust Bowl related game was any good. I had been blessed. The slop machine had finally fed me a carrot. I would not waste this opportunity! Aw man, opportunities are expensive. Robot Alchemic Drive, or RAD for short, a humble little PS2 game released in 2002 launched to critical and commercial reception. Look, we can all agree that big-ass mechs are literally the coolest thing imaginable. Like, I really can't think of anything that beats it. And I'm not even that big of a mecha anime guy. It's just one of those objective facts of life. But could this all be a ruse, a wolf in sheep's clothing, a negative pregnancy test? A positive pregnancy test? Well, I guess there's only one way to find out. You start the game picking which robot you want to control, and which guy you want to control. While they all have different stats and whatnot, ultimately it doesn't matter which of the Meganites you choose here, as you eventually unlock them all pretty quickly. You'd figured it would be different for the characters, like they'd each offer different campaigns, but as far as I can tell, not really. Don't get me wrong, there are differences, but they're mostly just rearranging certain plot elements to fit their slightly different personalities. For example, if you play as one of the boys, your relationship with the character Ellen is that you used to be engaged in an arranged marriage that would help 2 companies merge. If you play as the girl, you're just really good friends. Sandlot, you pussies! Happy Pride Month. The biggest difference is just which character's voice do you want to hear more of. I assure you, it's a tough decision. 1969. Humankind's first lunar expedition. Humans set foot on the moon. Oh shit, my lie detector's through the roof! However, the entire lunar crew dies mysteriously on the return flight. Never mind, we're good. 1975. Humankind's first manned space station is constructed. 1976. The space station's crew all die. Oh, Amber Alert this time. This is all due to nectar radiance, a scientific phenomenon that prevents life forms from being in space. Humankind cannot advance to the stars, alien life forms cannot come to Earth from space. Humankind continues its solitary existence. However,
It's unbelievable! It's like something from out of a movie! Oh! Something shot out of it! It blew a building apart! It's simply incredible! The Eternal City is fast becoming a blazing ruin! This isn't a movie! This is real! This is reality!
Alright, well first let's calm down with some deep breaths. We see our protagonist meeting up with their good old friend Nanao, when we're rudely interrupted by this attention-seeking alien.
I have to go home to Grandma! She wasn't feeling well, so she stayed in bed. Grandma! No!
Nanao, that's how I react when I get the Wordle wrong, not when my fucking grandma dies. Amongst the chaos, you end up meeting this scraggly old fellow who gives you this controller, and good luck, humanity's in your hands now. Well, I guess we gotta save this godforsaken city, just gotta figure out how to use my robot and... Oh no! Okay, so Rad consists of 53 missions, most of which consist of you controlling a big robot fighting an alien robot, referred to as the Volgara. Simple enough. Unfortunately, the controls aren't. Man, I did not grasp these things the first time around. I failed the goddamn tutorial. I didn't even know that was possible. But I eventually got used to them, and they're relatively intuitive. The control sticks have you flicking them in different directions to do special punches and moves with the left and right arms. The buttons allow you to fire missiles or transform. The D-pad determines which direction the top of your Meganite is facing, useful if you want to aim your missiles or attacks, I guess. And most importantly of all, take a step with your left or right leg with the shoulder buttons. On the one hand, this is cool. It really makes you feel each step of the robot. It helps to build that immersion, like you're really controlling this massive mechanoloid. On the other hand, this is slow as hell, even with the faster model. So it's harder for that immersion to shine through when I'm tediously walking over to where I need to be. On top of that, you have to make sure you position your character in a good enough spot to see your Meganite. When you enter Meganite mode, it switches to seeing things from the player's eyes. At first, I definitely saw this as much more of a nuisance, but it does add an extra layer of complexity to the gameplay that you never would have considered beforehand. But don't be fooled, as long as you can see your robot and you're not at risk of getting stepped on or something, you're fine. It's not that nuanced of a mechanic, and as the game went on, I kinda just wished I could see the guy normally and not have to worry about my position too. I get it, it's another thing to make it feel more immersive, and I'm not going to sit around and act like it isn't. At best, it's really cool, and being able to fly around and understand the scale of some of these buildings makes fights feel even grander. At the same time, though, I can only think this is interesting for so long before it kind of becomes a repetitive pain sometimes. Unfortunately, that's not my biggest problem with the camera in this game. For having full control of your character where he is and what he sees, it's really annoying when the game decides to focus your eyes on literally anything else. Like the Volgara shooting something into the air or knocking one of the enemies down, when you're fighting like 3 other enemies. The different Meganites you get to pilot do add a bit of variety to the battles, but I've always felt like the Vavel had a severe disadvantage to the other two by not having the ability to transform into an easier mode of transportation. Some of these missions have you start really far away from where the Meganites are, so you have to go over there in order to see it, and then go back so you can actually fight the damn robot. And depending on if the mission is time sensitive, I question how many of these are actually doable with all the robots. Haven't play tested it, but Legul and Glang are much more reliable picks, and I think Legul is consistently the best pick because Glang is slow as shit. You can purchase upgrades for your Meganite in the game's shop, stuff like more weapon ammo, armor buffs, new moves. Really neat shit. I like being able to semi-customize my robots this way. You get money for the shop from completing missions or protecting certain buildings, which is great because everything else will be obliterated. My reaction to buildings being destroyed in this game is always a positive one, because now I can see a bit better. It is kind of annoying how some buttons and combos overlap in the commands menu. Makes it kind of confusing to actually know what buttons do what. But if you know what you're doing, you can do some pretty insane moves in this game. Not gonna lie, there were a few times where I lost my shit after figuring out some of the bonkers things you can do. Shame it doesn't matter because of what I can best describe as the game's knockout mechanic. Once you hit the other robot enough times, it'll eventually be knocked down. But this gives you another opportunity to start comboing them again, which makes it very easy to get them stuck in a loop of putting them down before they can get a hit on you. So while some of the robots in the endgame are technically stronger, all of them go down the same way, including the final boss. It's a foolproof strategy and works in some way for pretty much every single battle in the game. The only scenario where it doesn't is when you're fighting multiple Volgara at once. And even then, that doesn't happen as much as you think it should. Shooting your missiles is rarely a good idea thanks to the robot's phantom system avoiding airbound attacks at the beginning of battle. It would make sense to use these abilities in the early stages of a fight when you may be further away from your enemy, But no, that would just be practical. All of this makes for a gameplay loop that can be enjoyable in short bursts, but ultimately becomes really repetitive and tedious. The game does not do enough to shake things up. They certainly try to, like having to save or protect a certain group of civilians, or having to not hit the news helicopter filming us, but these still result in you just fighting another Volgara. The extra criteria for completion is pretty irrelevant, and other cases like Mission 42 are just complete bullshit. This one is horribly paced. You try to fight the Volgara but can't get a hit on him, and you find out this is because there's a machine boosting its phantom system, so you destroy it and slowly make your way back to fight the Volgara, only to find out you still can't hit him because there's 4 more machines you need to destroy you weren't told about. Why not just start us with the 5 then? Why do you need to waste my time with the first one? Also, while we're on the topic of missions I don't like, Mission 29 sees you having to stay on your mech in order to pilot it because Bluetooth wasn't working that day. No, this sucks. Getting hit pretty much guarantees you'll be scrambling to regroup yourself on your robot again. This is a pain, not a fun change of pace. But hey, combat isn't the only thing this game has going for it. What about the incredible story and lovable characters? Oh, sorry, I mean the mediocre story and subpar character. Not saying who, though. Nanao is the absolute star of the show. Just a sweet young girl who has misfortune after misfortune thrown at her. Shame there's nothing I can do about that. But even her character isn't that deep. She's admirable, pushing through despite all the hardships in her life, but that's kind of it? Early on, they try to establish how conflicted she feels about the robots. Since, you know, a robot killed her grandma after all. Not sure if even I'd remember that detail. Grandma! Only to be heartbroken to see you piloting a robot, even if it was to save the city. Because all robots are bad or something. But they completely forget about this. And also, didn't she literally see us pilot it in the first mission? There's a lot of things about this story that bugs me. Like, remember that old man who suffered a direct hit from the Volgara? Comes back perfectly fine, like nothing happened halfway through the game. What the fuck? These army men get way too much screen time for serving little to no purpose in the story. They're annoying, and they say the same joke about not wanting to fight and being useless over and over again. The main guy feeling like he's become one with the Meganite is really cool, until you remember that he's just controlling it from far away, being controlled by me through the TV. Seems a bit silly after that. The news reports that start and end a lot of the missions rarely add anything of note. They just serve to pad out the playtime. But while those things are kind of annoying, a lot of the concepts this game has are awesome. The whole idea of evolution, the future without humans being able to travel into space. It's all cool shit. The gradual rising tension between the humans and the Volgara make for an enticing story arc too, with them seemingly trying to eliminate all of us. But yeah, none of the characters back at home are that great. And what certainly doesn't help is the performance. What this game is probably most known for nowadays is its abysmal voice acting. And you know, I don't think I have anything to add to that conversation. It is absolutely hilarious though. The actor's weak performance is a lot of it, but it's clear that they just weren't given proper direction or context for a lot of these lines, which makes a lot of them even funnier.
Whoa!
Whoa! Oh, wait.
Yeah?
A big supermarket opened nearby. They're taking the customers.
I guess I could destroy this place accidentally on purpose.
But hey, amazing voice acting isn't everything in the presentation. The graphics are charming enough. They aren't bad by any means, nor does it feel like it's pushing the PS2 to its limits. Except when they're exploding shit, the frame rate really tanks sometimes. And the animations are, well, I mean, the Meganites look really good, but the automated cutscenes for the characters running around look really weird, especially if you fast forward through them, which just emphasizes how dumb this fucking game is. But the soundtrack is actually pretty great. I don't think there's a song in here I didn't like. The town theme is incredibly pleasant, the battle themes changing the closer you get to killing the robot is fantastic. It absolutely hypes you up. It's a great track list all around. And with that, I'm glad that I'm able to end this on a relatively positive note. Because while I don't think this is a good game by any means, I did have fun with it. Anything with robots fighting is automatically going to be a little bit of the coolest thing ever. And its charm is undeniable, bad voice acting and all. That said, would I recommend this game to anybody? Absolutely not. This thing is a tedious slog most of the time, with repetitive combat and... no, it really just is how repetitive it is. That's the main thing that drags this game down, which is really why I can't give it higher than a 4 out of 10. But I absolutely think this game should live on in minute-long clips that show up on people's TikTok feeds. Because that's how all art was meant to be consumed anyways.